Hi, welcome to Empty Nest Creations. I'm Wendy, and today we're going to be doing part 2 of Sonnet's Maker's Box for September. So let's jump into project 1. This is one of those faux books that I purchased at the thrift store a while back. It's actually a VHS tape holder. The one I'm going to be using today is titled The Fall of the House of Usher by Edgar Allan Poe, which I think is perfect for this time of year. I'm going to be using the DIY paint that came in the maker's box in the color Electrified. So this is a clay-based paint. It can be heat dried with a heat tool, and it can be distressed with water. So you will have to seal this paint when you are finished to make sure that your paint finish lasts for a long time. So I'm going in and I'm going to give the entire outside of this book 2 coats of this color Electrified. Now it's important to note that DIY paints dry lighter than they appear when they are wet. So that's important for you to realize, because you can see in the little container it's not the same color as on the book. But this is a really nice, vibrant, greenish yellow color. And it goes really well with the papers that are in the maker's box this time. So I'm just using my heat tool to dry between each coat. And I'm going to paint the front, the back, and the spine, and then the edges that show. Now I'm not going to paint the book pages. They look just fine the way they are, and I'm going to leave those just the way they are. So we're just painting what would be the book cover. If you enjoy DIY videos, thrift flips, how-to projects, I would love it if you would subscribe to my channel. I have a goal of reaching 1,000 subscribers by the end of the month. So if you are interested, just click the subscribe button and click that bell notification. It'll let you know when I upload a new video. I'm trying to do at least 1 video a week. This week you're actually going to get 2. Sonnet's Maker's Box was so full of beautiful products that it took 2 videos for me to use most of them. I still haven't used all of them, but I will get 2 of them. So once this is painted, I'm going to use just a wet baby wipe, and I'm going to distress those little raised edges on the book spine, and then I'll distress a little bit around the edges where a book would normally get wear and tear, on the corners and on those little edges where you would hold it while you're reading. And then I'm just going to go back in and dry those with that heat tool. And then we're going to use one of Connie's papers. This is the Moody Night paper by the Painted Photographer. And I realized that if I turn it over and wet the back, it's much easier to tear. On the previous paper in the previous video, I was wetting it on the front, and the ink kind of resists the water a little bit, so you have to go over and over and over it to get it to saturate the paper enough for you to tear it easily. But this works really well. So I'm just using my water and my paintbrush to outline that top cover of the book to make this paper fit perfectly. And so I'll lay it on there and then go back and tear some more until I have it the perfect fit. This little raven on the blue pumpkin is so perfect for this Edgar Allan Poe faux book. So rice papers are a little bit thicker than the decoupage papers that, like by Royce, but they work really, really well. I'm going to use the DIY liquid patina as my decoupage medium again. And I'm going to mist the paper and then just fold that top piece back, put down a layer of liquid patina, and then lay that paper into the liquid patina and use my brush to smooth it out. Then I'll lift up the bottom and do the bottom half the same way, using my brush to smooth that paper out. And then I'm going to cover the entire paper with the liquid patina, making sure there's no air bubbles. And I'm going to go ahead and seal all of that paint in with the liquid patina. This will seal it up and protect the paint. And once this is sealed, this project is complete. I really like these faux books. They're a great way to have storage, but it also look nice. So here I've just got it displayed with some other books on a little bookshelf. You could put this on a stack of books. You could just lay it on the end table. I was actually thinking that this would be great for when I put out all of my candles for the holidays, and they have those tiny little remotes. This would be a great storage piece to put those in. So I have 2 of these little books. I may do one for Christmas, so I can have one out for the fall season with the raven on it, and then when it's time for Christmas, I can switch to the other book and have a Christmas one. Let me know in the comments below what you think about this project. We're going to move on to project 2. We're going to be using the other Roycycled paper that was in this box, and I'm just going to cut off a piece that will fit this little tray that I have. This is the Autumn Hearth Plaid. It's a really pretty orange and dark green plaid. And I'm just going to use my paintbrush with some water and just go around that inset part of this little tray to tear this paper down to fit inside that circle. Now again, this is a thinner paper. You have to be careful with it. I haven't quite learned how to be careful. I tear this one as well, but we'll see that there's always a fix. Okay, so I'm going to double check and make sure this fits, and then I'm going to set this paper aside so we can finish up the rest of this project. Now I found this little pedestal at the thrift store. It was $1. It's metal. It has this nice little flat edge, so I'm going to glue it to the bottom of this to make a riser. So I'm just measuring to make sure that it's in the center, and I'm going to use my little Sharpie marker to mark the points on this. So once I lift it up and add the glue, I'll be able to place it right back into the center. So I'm going to mark all of the points on here. And now we're going to use a combination of wood glue. This is Tite Bond glue. And I'm going to use a quick setting super glue with an activator. And so I'm just going to spread that out. And then in between, I'm going to put the super glue. And then use my marks to set this right back down into the center. And spray it with that activator. And that's just going to help me to move on to the next step. Now I'm going to use another DIY paint for this project. This is in the color Eden. Now this came in the August Maker's box. It's a really pretty green that's great for the holidays, but it matches the stripe in this plaid really, really well. So I'm going to give this piece a good coat of the Eden paint. Like I said earlier, this is a thick paint. It covers really, really well. I believe I only do 1 coat on here, maybe 1.5. And of course, I'll use the heat tool to dry in between. I think this is a wonderful color for the holidays coming up. It would go well with fall displays, but also it's going to be beautiful with Christmas. I've really enjoyed these last two boxes from Sonnet. You get colors that you may not ever consider using, and the papers go really well with the colors. So you can use the box to make a really nice display, coordinating all your pieces together. So I'm going into the center of this little tray with the beadboard DIY paint. And I'm being really careful to keep those edges green, because when I put my paper in, I don't want any of this white to show. It's just to kind of help make that paper pop. But if any of the paint shows, I want it to be that Eden green. So once this is dry, we're going to fit our paper back in the middle. Nope. Yes. Okay, so we're going to wet that paper, and then I'm going to set it down in the middle, just trying to make sure that none of that white will be showing. Fold it back, and then I'm going to use the liquid patina again. Put down a layer of liquid patina and smooth the paper into the liquid patina with my brush. And then do the other side. Now I come in after this and I use a wipe to kind of wet distress some of that paint. And I didn't really like the way it was distressing on this piece. So I'm going to come back in with some sandpaper, and that's where I mess up. I should have let that centerpiece completely dry before I brought that paper in, or that sandpaper in, because I touched that middle, and when it's wet, it will tear, and I tore it just a little, but you can see the white showing through, so we're going to fix that in just a minute. But I'm going to go ahead and coat all of the paint in the liquid patina. This just seals it in. You can use wax or a spray sealer, or you can use a brush-on sealer like the liquid patina. You just want to make sure that all of that DIY paint is sealed in. Now to fix that little boo-boo, you can see it right there, I'm going to use a transfer from Santa's Hollow. I just went through there. This one has a lot of fall images as well as Christmas images. And so I just found one that had some of the same colors in it as our paper. I'm trimming it up and then laying it down. You remove the backing, lay it down where you want it, and then you use a transfer stick to just rub that transfer, lifting the vellum as you go, and your image adheres to your piece. You want to burnish it in, and then you do need to seal your transfer, so I sealed it with some liquid patina. And then now this project is complete. I think it turned out beautiful. I actually love the transfer on top of the decoupage paper. That was not my original plan, but it turned out great. You can use this to display some figurines, maybe some pumpkins, but you could also use this as a candle stand, or if you wanted to, it's not food safe, but you could put a paper towel down or a piece of paper down and put some cookies or something on there as well. So we're going to move on to project 3. Now this is a little bird that on a stand that I had for spring, and I'm going to update it for the fall, and I'm going to use the paper that we used earlier on the Edgar Allan Poe book. I'm going to use the rest of that paper on this bird to make it kind of go with the book. So I'm using this paint. It's a DIY paint in the mermaid tail, and I'm going to give this little pedestal 1.5 coats of the DIY paint. So I'm going to paint this on and then use my heat tool to dry it. And then once it's dry, we're going to come back in and add just a little bit more of that paint to make sure we have a good coat on there. If you're enjoying this video, please give it a like. That really does help my channel to grow. So here I'm coming back in with that little half coat. So I'm spraying it, misting it with water, and then just using a little bit of paint. That water just helps the paint to spread. And it doesn't take a whole lot for this second coat. Just want to make sure it has good coverage. I'm going to use my heat tool to dry it, and then we're going to use the DIY paint and bead board to paint over that design that's on the bird, prepping it for our decoupage paper. So I'm going to use the decoupage paper Moody Night, what's left over. I don't want to waste any of this, so I'm just going to cut out 2 pieces and use the liquid patina to decoupage this on to each side of the bird. Now, I didn't get finishing this on camera, but once it's completely dry, I let it dry for several hours, and I came back in with sandpaper and just sanded off the edges of that paper to smooth it out. And then it's complete. I think I need to go back in and maybe do where the white edges of the bird are, paint it black, and then it will match better with our book. But I think this turned out beautiful. I love that I was able to use that leftover paper on another project. I don't like to waste any of that, and it fit perfect on this little bird. Thank you so much for sharing some of your time with me, and I will see you guys in the next video.